Get ready, Power Gamers. This is our very first session where we introduce all of the characters and then explore the island. All right, well, then get ready, Power Gamers, because it's time to meet Lily's character. Lily, tell us a little bit about yourself, your name, your race, your class, and, your morals and attitude and whatnot.
All right, so my name is Lothiriel of the noble house Elysium. I am a half elf. I am a bard, and I'm an aspiring diplomat. I want my family to believe in myself, and all I want is for my family to know that I have what it takes for them to be proud of me.
Solid. Yeah, very solid. Yeah, you are quite the member of nobility. Probably the only one in our party now that I think about it. And because of that, it's been a very interesting ride for you. Let's take a look at that. So, you are, in fact, a member of the noble. Is it Elysium or Elysium?
Elysium.
Elysium, the noble Elysium name. A name that is known around Lyria, around the world. Now, your family have amassed quite an impressive amount of money, impressive amount of renown. It's because they've allied themselves with a very powerful faction, a faction known as the Golnari. These islands, the Golnari faction, is made up of a group of, well, it's a mixed match of cultures, including Drow who worship Loth, members and initiates of Cord, and even orcs and raiders who worship Grumash. The legionnaires of Golnari, their whole culture, their philosophy praises strength as a virtue, combat as a test of right. It is only through strength and might that they grow. Um, you don't know much about the family business or anything like that, but you do know that the house of your family, or rather, I suppose I should say the manor, on Golnari proper it's beautiful, um, just incredible. It's probably one of the wonders of the world in terms of houses, but you have very few memories there because, well, you don't really belong there. See, your father was an incredible warlock. He's the one who made famous House Elysium, or Elysium. And as it turns out, someone that powerful, well, when they are due to get married, it's to make an alliance of sorts. There was an arranged marriage. Some romance? Sure, possibly. It blossomed. To the point where it was more than just a ceremony, it was a meaningful wedding between two houses of nobility. Not only the noble house of Elysium, but also the house of Loth. The woman that he was to marry was a Loth priestess. In fact, one of the high priestesses, which was what was going to make this wedding such a strong union in the Golnari culture. However, the night before the wedding, there was, let's say, an unexpected surprise that showed up at the door. And that was you!
Yay! That is
Yeah!
correct. That
You,
is very correct.
yeah, you showed up at the door. Um, Absolutely confusing and bewildering the entire House Elysium, infuriating the to be wife. Until, of course, your father saw you. Instantly, instantly, he broke down and admitted that you were his. The wedding had to be called off, and that was no petty thing. It destroyed the relationships of House Elysium with any members of the Loth, religion, community. And to this day, spiders seem to specifically hate you. However, when all of this happened, that fateful day, this isn't particularly something you remember so much as something you've been told. Illegible letters in ink suddenly covered your father's skin when he touched you, and he was distraught. He canceled the wedding and left, and that was the last you ever saw of him.
Yes, that is correct. And I was left with my grandparents, Thea and Theron, and they absolutely hate me because not only did they lose their son, they also lost all of their power and renown with me showing up at their doorstep.
It's true, it's true, and unfortunately, they even lost that delightful manor in Gulnari proper, and because of that, your grandparents and yourself were forced to seek refuge, or rather, you know, live on a different place, because you're still nobles. But you were forced to seek refuge on our little familiar island. Now, you guys were able to set up in the center ring of the city as well to do nobles, or rather, your grandparents are well to do nobles because you are kind of the black sheep of the family. As you settled into your new asylum, one thing became apparently, or rather quickly apparent to you, and that was that they seemed to despise you, seemed to hate you, and actively wanted nothing to do with training you, teaching you, or in any way including you in any sort of the family business. And so you spent your days having to learn for yourself, having to entertain yourself, having to do these things all for yourself, and being by yourself because you were kept isolated. And it lasted like that for a long time. And what did you do to keep yourself sane?
I tried to learn on my own. I tried to make friends. Of course, I quickly stopped doing that because I wasn't a an accepted member of my family. And of course, my family had a black mark to their name. So I learned to read a lot. I learned to straight as train myself.
Yeah. Heck yeah. And as you did, um, it didn't numb the feeling of loneliness or emptiness, but it did give you skills. You would go from fancy room to fancy room, learning different things about art, learning different things about literature, uh, games of chance, bits of magic, how to be persuasive. It's a terrible thing having everything at your fingertips and yet none of it meaning anything. But that all changed one day, I think, when someone new entered your life. What happened?
So we got a new caretaker. Well, specifically, I got a new caretaker. I was still considered to be not good enough and I couldn't take care of myself. So they gave me a human caretaker as an insult to my elf upbringing. Her name was Varys, and at first I hated her, but she was just so nice and caring to me, and she actively looked towards me and told me that I was doing such a great job and she was proud of me and she was always happy no matter how the day went. And it really helped me look into myself and really want to prove myself to my family. If this lowly human thought that I could achieve great things, then maybe I could.
Maybe you could. It was the first time anybody even proposed that. Maybe you could. Maybe you could make something of yourself. Maybe you meant something and maybe you weren't worthless. And having a friend like this, having a caretaker, sure, but having an actual friend, it was revolutionary. And it was probably one of the only things that helped you survive a lot of the, well, degradation that you suffered. Today is one of those days. You find yourself in front of your grandparents again. These are never pleasant conversations, so you've braced yourself, but somehow it never seems to be enough. You find yourself in front of them, and they don't speak, they just stare at you because they know you'll break first. What do you say?
Grandparents, I am here to prove myself and to make myself useful to the house of Elysium. I want to take over the family business. I want to learn. I want to bring in those new contracts. I want to help us move up in the world again.
As you say that, roll for me a persuasion check. Dang, nice. 15. Excellent. All right. As you say that to them, um, you see your grandfather look at you and scoff. Your grandmother says, "You exist because House Elysium allows it. Do not forget your position or your station, child." Your grandfather says, "You will serve House Elysium because we demand it. If you prove capable of producing anything that is of value to this house, you will have done your basic duty. Are we clear about where you lie in our house, child?"
Yes, grandfather.
Wonderful. Your request is granted. We will leave anon. Everything you cultivate will be your own. Everything you grow, you shall bring back to the house. Or we'll be rid of you permanently.
Yes, grandfather. Thank you for this opportunity. I promise I will make House Elysium proud.
You see your grandmother kind of shake her head, and your grandfather nods. "Very well. I look forward to the day when that will be a reality." And he waves his hand as though to send you away.
Okay, I go away.
As you do, you leave, and it's another one of those uncomfortable conversations with them. But it's not too long before being out of their presence, being in the presence of Varus, being in the presence of different noblemen, you start to find that you actually do have a knack for this. And with Varus there, a friend to kind of banter with and to make sure you're taken care of, this isn't even bad. This is kind of fun. It's not so bad at all. And then when you come home, um, you realize that the keep is empty. And true to their word, they have left. It goes on like this for a little while. You're actually pretty good at being a diplomat. I guess spending all that time learning about art, literature, games and how to conversate, it made you really well versed. And in fact, you're able to, you know, convince a lot of these nobles to maybe give a second thought to a Gulnari house that they would have never even looked at twice. But that all changes one day when Varus does not show up. What do you do?
I become very concerned for her. She has never ever missed a day, and it's it's completely concerning. She would never miss a day. Start looking for her. I know she lives in the outer ring, and if she's not here today, that means something must have happened to her.
Yeah, that's a fair assumption. All right, so you start looking around. In fact, you look all over the manor. She's nowhere in the current manor you reside in. You leave the manor and start looking all around Highgarden. You search the noble sector of the city and make for me either a survival or an investigation check. Oh, dang.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I wish it was that natural one, but it's the one on the left, sadly. An 8 is fine. As you look around, you can find no trace of her. You look around and find nothing really, um, except for that you notice that for some reason. Oh, I guess one thing you do notice, because it's really got nothing to do with survival, but you rolled pretty low. You notice that there does seem to be some sort of fanfare going on in Highgarden. There seems to be in the Noble District a small celebration going on.
Really, that's interesting. That must mean somebody high up is here.
And it certainly must mean something like that, yeah. That's usually the only occasion where there'd be something similar like that. But the thought barely crosses your mind before it's back to searching for Varus. So you start looking around. There's nowhere in Highgarden. She doesn't seem to be anywhere in the mercantile ring. Where else do you check?
Well, I know she mentioned she had family in the outer ring, so maybe she went there.
That's true. Yeah. Okay. You travel outside the city limits to a place that you've probably only seen rarely, if ever. Go ahead and make for me a survival or investigation check. Oh, wait a minute. No, I'm sorry. You know where Varus lives. Yeah, what am I talking
Oh,
about? Yeah, sorry,
okay.
sorry. You know where Varus lives. So you make your way to Varus's house in the outer district. And when you get there, you find that the person you see on the bed is incredibly different from the friendly face that you're familiar with. When you look at her, A, she seems incredibly sick. Um, Something's wrong. She's almost non-responsive to you. I mean, you can see her head kind of twitch as you open the door, and it creaks with hinges that needed oil years ago. But other than that, she doesn't even respond. What do you do?
I go up to her and I try and speak to her. Varus, are you okay? It's me, Lothiriel.
She seems pretty unresponsive to any sort of words.
I try and do a medicine check on her.
Excellent. Go ahead and roll. Ooh, okay. So a total of 14. As you look her over, well, I guess it's important to note she was facing away from you when you entered the room, and you saw her head kind of jerk when you made that sound with the door. When you walk over to her, hey, it's me. Wake up. As you grab her by the shoulder and turn her over towards you, um, you realize something. Her face is covered in blood. It looks like she's been bleeding from the eyes, from the ears, from the nose for quite some time, to the point where her skin looks very pale. Her lips are blue, and her eyes are yellow and bloodshot. She looks like she's at death's door. What do you do?
Uh, I I reach out to hold her hand and promise that I'll be back. I'm gonna see if I can find a doctor or a medic or something to help her.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, you say that. She doesn't really respond, but you know that you're coming back. Yeah, you leave. Where do you go?
I'm gonna go back to the inner ring.
Okay, excellent. You go back to the inner ring. Find yourself back in High Garden. You know this area very well. In fact, you're familiar with the doctors around here. This is the place where you can find medicine. It's the inner ring. Healing of all kinds, scrolls, potions, you name it. It's incredibly expensive. That's why only the nobles can afford it. So you go to one of these doctors, or rather, one of these practitioners, and what do you say?
I need medicine for my caretaker. She's sick and she's bleeding and she's pale and I don't know what's wrong with her. I've never seen anything like this.
Oh, well, of course, dear. I'm happy to help. And what is it you'll be needing?
I'm not sure. I don't know what's wrong with her.
Oh, so it sounds like a consultation, too. Very well, we can do a reading. All right, I suppose. Yes, that would be a total of. Well, depending on what your friend has, we can do the consultation for 1,000.
Uh I don't I don't is there anything else I can do?
I'm sorry? Do you not want to pay?
It's it's not that. I'm I don't have that money.
Oh, well, I'm sorry, dear, but our medicine is for the people who can afford it. In fact, what are you doing in this ring if you can't? Hmm. Oh, and you see her eyes narrow as she looks at you. You're that Elysium girl, aren't you?
I stand up straight and look at her directly in the eyes. Yes, I am.
Oh, the impoverished noble. How quaint. Well, I'd give you a discount because of your family name, but I don't think it will matter. If you're broke, I suggest you leave.
Can you at least tell me of someone who can help me?
I don't know anyone who will help you for free. I don't think anyone like that exists.
Are you sure? Anybody who would barter or trade with me?
Hmm. You see, I think for a second. She says, not that I'm aware. Of course, I only traffic in the inner circle. Maybe you can find someone more your status outside the city.
Fine.
All right. Do you leave?
Yeah.
Okay. You storm out, already frustrated with this business of being a nobleman with no money. Where do you go?
He has a point. I'm not going to be able to find help here, but m- maybe somebody in the outer rings will know how I can help Varus.
Yeah, worth a shot. All right, you make your way to the outer rings. Go ahead and roll for me a survival or investigation check to try to find somebody with any sort of magical prowess. Ooh, dang. Okay. All right. You start asking around. Um, you gather that there's really only two options out here. There is the Church of Living Water. However, out here, they don't provide any healing magic. They just purify water enough to keep people out here alive. It is a charity. Um, but the healing magic is reserved for nobles, tradesmen who can afford it. Out here, the only other option, well, you start asking around, and someone tells you about this individual named the Rat King. Seems to indicate that you can get favors, healing, food, water, but it's in return for service instead of payment. Seems to be the only other lead you're able to drum up.
Well, I can't let Varus die or succumb to whatever disease this is, especially if there's somebody out there willing to help.
Okay, yeah, totally fair. All right, and after talking with that person, because you got over 15, they absolutely guide you to the Rat King's lair. As you make your way over there, do you go back and visit Varus first, or do you just go?
I'm just gonna go.
Just gonna go. Okay. All right. So you skip the pleasantries and make your way over to the Rat King's lair. You find again on the outskirts of the forest this strange broken down warehouse, which seems to have a bunch of artless people and Wyndham. Well done, Power Gamer. You've safely made it to the end of the video. Congratulations. Thanks for hanging out with us, and a very special thank you to our supporters on Patreon. Thank you to our Patreon founders whose incredible generosity humbles us. Thank you to the legends, guild members, and all of the official Power Gamers whose love and support makes this channel possible. If you like what you saw, let us know by leaving a like, comment, subscription, donation, sharing the video with your friends. Check out all the links below, and we'll see you Saturday on Twitch for the next Legends of Lyria.